Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa, here to do a reading. And so, starting off, split, we got the Star and the Five of Wands. So that's an interesting combination. It's almost like someone's kind of like being recognized or ascending or coming into their power, and like there's conflict around this. Like, not everyone is happy about this development. So that's really interesting because there has been like the readings leading up to this one have been kind of speaking to this sort of like almost like a changing of the guard that's like happening in slow motion, where it's like things are changing, but it's like you might almost might not recognize it until you're like looking back later, because it's happening so slowly. Like, this is sort of like this turning point, but things are happening so slowly that you might not recognize it as such until later. But it does seem like this person is coming into their own, and this kind of speaks to like, like the fight over who's going to be the king of the hill, and this person is rising, and there's like a lot of like obstruction for this. So that might be part of why it's happening in slow motion. Okay, so when I pulled this card down, we got the Empress, we got the Three of Swords, the Seven of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, the Tower, and the World. So what I just got from this whole thing is that this is the end of the era. There's a significant disruption that's happening. It is causing some like pruning and a new foundation to be sort of established. And that's going to be a heartbreaking situation for someone. So it's just like, perhaps it might be this Empress, or the Empress might be what's like rising above whatever this conflict and heartbreak is. So when I pull down the Star, we got the Four of Swords, we got the Page of Swords, we got the Eight of Swords, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords. So what I'm getting from all of this is that this situation is coming to an end. There's a stable, independent energy that's rising out of it. But it's almost like this person should just take a load off, which I think that was a reading actually, and just kind of take their time and just sort of like know that all of this conflict is going to have to like work itself out in the background. So it's best to just sort of like keep a low profile, because there's this energy, this stalkerish fear and anxiety energy in the environment. So it's almost like, and this message has been coming through a bunch, of just sort of like focusing on yourself. And there was a reading that happened like recently, and it was called like sort of like taking a break from the dramatics for the summer or something, like knowing that this is all going to play out, and whether you engage it or not, it's going to play out either way. So it's like you might as well just like kind of stay off the grid and just like allow things to unfold, and focus that energy on yourself, like healing yourself. When I pulled the Mystical Shaman, we got the Corn and we got the Curse. So that's really interesting because they both start with a C. But this is a card of like abundance and fertility and things coming to fruition. And this is a card of the opposite. This is a card of like sort of like a limiting belief or an emotional unhealed wound that's like blocking someone's perspective, creating like a blind spot. It could be like an inherited sort of pattern. So it's almost like there's, this is going to be like a big like point of reckoning for the parties that are like creating the conflict, because it's almost like they haven't done the work to heal from this limiting belief, and for that reason they're sort of being sidelined so that they can hopefully have like a shift in their perspective. But it's like, I don't know that they're necessarily going to see it that way. Whereas then we have this star energy, which is coming into this abundance. They have learned the lesson, so it's time for them to move on, elevate. And then we have flow and beauty ways. So it's like almost, oh my gosh. And then that's followed by the eagle. So it's like signs and synchronicities from the ancestors. So it's almost like the star energy, who has kind of done the work and healed, is going to come into abundance. They're going to be released from whatever this is, this limiting belief. And then like it's like these parties are still kind of like in the trenches, like trying to figure out the lesson. And so it's like, you know, part of that lesson is, it's like almost like the people here think that by pulling other people down, they're gonna like rise above, but they're like completely missing the whole thing, because that's not, that like pulling other people down actually is only gonna bring yourself down. You know, what allows people to rise is by releasing these limiting beliefs and sort of distortions that are caused by this, which basically requires some like healing, some self-work, you know, some self-reflection. And that's kind of the epiphany that this person needs to have in order to move on. So it's almost like there's kind of like these two paths, which again, that's another message that's been coming through about these two paths, you know, and they're being sort of like these diverging destinies based on that. And that's part of what's been coming through in slow motion. Like that message has been coming through in the energy realm for a long time, but it's like it's starting to happen in the realm of the physical world now. So pretty interesting. Let's see what I get. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna pick a few cards from here and see what we get from the tarot. Okay. So we have the Queen of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So this is a manifesting queen. Look, she's like a gardener, like she's growing things. She's like a manifester. Like she can channel her energy into making things happen. And she's an empowered queen. We have, that's the energy at the, you know, bottom. We have the Star, the Hermit, the Ten of Wands, and the Seven of Wands. So I'm getting, because I was talking about how there's these two paths, and there's the Star, and then there's this other path where it's like they're gonna have to like almost like repeat the cycle because they haven't learned the lesson. But this person is elevating from this cycle, and it's almost like what's coming out is sort of like what I was just speaking to. But this is the person who's kind of gone on the spiritual quest, so that they've learned the lesson, they've have like reflected on themselves and what they're supposed to learn, and they've developed an awareness about this. And so this is allowing them to put down this burden. They can put, and they get to graduate to the next level because they finally get to put this down. It's like they finally figured it out, you know. But this person is going to have to like stand their ground, because there's obviously a lot of conflict in the environment and people who are not happy about this outcome, you know. Like, these are people who are still under the illusion that they can control the outcome by like manipulating people, or, you know, like trying to bring other people down, and that's going to lift them up. And, you know, so that they're going to have to stand their ground because that's in the environment. But nonetheless, you know, the Star and the Hermit are both the major arcana. So like, this person is going to elevate, you know, whether they like it or not. But there is going to be like a lot of drama and conflict in the environment to try to prevent that from happening. So just so that there's like full awareness about it, I'm going to go to the angels and ancestors and see if we have messages about maybe how we might need to handle this. Because, yeah, we did have that message earlier about, you know, focusing on yourself and trying to stay sort of out of the conflict. But nonetheless, the conflict is here, and it's going to play out. So let's see if we get any more advice about how to play this, because this does look like it's like a pretty significant conflict. It's like a generational, this speaks to like a generational curse kind of issue, you know. So it's not going to be like an easy thing to rise above, but nonetheless, it is destined that it's going to happen. Oh my gosh. So we got Eagle, see things from a higher perspective, which this is the second time the Eagle has come out, so I think this is significant. It reminds me of a reading called Rising Above the Fray, which I'm going to link here. That's like really important. It's like you definitely want to be super intentional about not getting sucked into the conflict and seeing things from a higher perspective. Like, that's what's one of the things that's going to help you to stay out of it. We got She-Wolf. Unleash the wild within. So, I mean, part of the thing about the Star is this person has a gift that it's like that they're meant to share with the world, and that's part of the elevation. So part of this, you know, work that you should do on yourself, rather than focusing on this conflict around you, is on focusing on what this is that you have to unleash. And that's where your energy should be focused, not on the conflict, because that's just going to bring you down. Honor your inner knowing. Take the time to look within, and this is the time for that. Even though it might not look like it, you don't want to get sucked into all this negative energy that's around, because that's really kind of a trap. So we have Earth Mother. Feel loved and comforted. This is a moment for self-care, self-love, self-healing, and just like kind of let the rest of this stuff go. And really, like, you don't want to sort of inhabit this energy of like anger and conflict. You want to keep your like vibration high um, and like let the rest of that play out how it's going to, because ultimately it's not really your deal. Like that's for them to work out. Like they're the ones that need to go back and relearn this cycle again. So you don't really need to concern yourself with that, because it's like you've kind of already learned the lesson. So it's just sort of like that's just going to block you from elevating. So this is crazy. This is what came out from the Work Your Light Pillar of Light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. You are the one with this gift to release. So tune into this. And then we have birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. This is where your focus should be. We're just at the beginning of it. So everything is still kind of fragile, and it's like almost like this person has this bubble of positive energy protecting them. This is a new thing that's being birthed. So you do have to protect it from all this conflict and chaos that's around. But this is where your focus should be in this time. And it's going to reap really positive rewards over time. So stay out of the conflict. It's not worth your time. It's like, it's really beneath you. You've graduated from this. It's sort of like, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, like people who, kind of create conflict and drama. It's like sort of like the Real Housewives sort of stuff, and it's just like, yeah, like it might be entertaining, but I mean, it's not. It's like people who have like a gift to share with the world, or, or starting businesses or changing the world, those are not the people who are like getting caught up in like silly dramas and throwing drinks at each other and whatnot. Like, because that's the whole thing about the Queen of Wands. Like I shuffled, so you can't see the Queen of Wands anymore, but she doesn't use her energy in that way, like, because she channels her energy to make things happen, instead of engaging in like that drama and whatnot. That's the Queen of Wands in reverse, who like doesn't understand the power of her energy and how to use it to manifest things. So I mean, at the end of the day, that's sort of the crux of this entire lesson, and like what's allowing this person to ascend is that they have learned this, like where you choose to invest your energy. I mean, that's totally up to you and not up to anybody else. And when you can come into command of that, that's when you become the Chariot. And so this is part of the test, it's just like, are you going to engage in this silly drama, or are you going to use that energy towards fulfilling your purpose? And that's the choice that's before you, and the choice to make right now. It's like, do you want to be would you rather be like one of the Real Housewives, or would you rather be like, I don't know, somebody who's doing something to change the world, like Gandhi or something, like that's, I mean, they're each their own path, but that's kind of the crossroads that this reading speaks of. There's like two paths here, and it's up to you, like where you choose to invest your energy.